pain makes you reckless. It feels like I'm finally free, yet running from my anxiety, running from that scary part of me, running to embrace the new version of me, running just for my cheerleaders to see, feeling like they want me to heal too quickly, running against the clock of age time, running to achieve every last goal of mine, running to recapture every last adventure of my youth, running full time to live my false truth, running, 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 fearful that someone, anyone, everyone is watching, waiting to judge without empathy. There she goes again, the self doubt, the trauma speaking out loud. No divine revelation, seeking her own validation and her reincarnation. Out of time and breathless, pain makes her reckless. I don't know what you'll take away from this. If you're going through heartbreak yourself, and if you can't find the words to articulate your pain, baby, write it down. And if you've never experienced heartbreak, mine was bloody painful. That's all I can say.
And I think what I can add to that is like, so I don't know if you've heard of inner child work, and it's this idea that there are younger versions of you living inside of you that have not healed, right? And the whole aim of healing is like integrating all those parts of yourself. Whenever a big heartbreak like that happens, I can relate. I was reckless in some ways, and it's because your inner teenager she's the one that's like rebelling. So every kind of wounded inner child has their own thing. Whenever they feel overwhelmed, they have the thing that helps, So with the teenager, it's like reckless, don't care, just gonna do whatever because they're in that much pain, right? And I just think I wish people didn't rush healing on anybody. I wish more people could sit with a person that's in pain, right? Just sit. Don't give me advice. Just sit. Let me cry, right? Let me be angry. Let me be sad. Let me feel all of that, and then say, how would you like me to support you? Right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And then if I want your advice, then give me the advice. If I say I want your advice, but I think very few people are able to hold the pain, and that's because they haven't held their own pain.
Absolutely.
Right? And a lot of women especially are still in really unhappy marriages, but they haven't consciously come to terms with the fact that they're unhappily married.
Well, girl,
so
another conversation.
And a lot of women, you talked about decentering men, have not decentered men, especially in every demographic. But I find older Black Christian women, African women, I'm Kenyan, like, for example, for my mother, she's just like, well, are you just not just going to get back with him? And I'm like,
yeah.
And she's like, well, God does not like divorce. And I'm like, well,
I know.
If I can walk away with 3 little kids and say, I'd rather not be married because this person is causing me harm, the auntie or the mother, the older Black woman that gets her status from being married, what does that mean for her? Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it's just so much to unpack in what you've said. We haven't touched on this, but sometimes when we're dealing with the breakdown of our marriages, a lot of other loss comes along with that. Loss of friendships that we may have had, and that was a big thing for me. Betrayal of friends and the whole wahala of the breakdown of the marriage. And sometimes you yourself, even if there hasn't been any betrayal by friends, sometimes you yourself find yourself in a space where you're not wanting to isolate. You can't deal with the couples that you both shared as friends before because it's now a different dynamic. So a lot goes on in that space. The other thing for me is, and I'm going to say this sensitively, just as a disclaimer. The other thing is knowing the narrative that the other party may have put out there, because obviously we are having a conversation here today as two women. We're telling our story from our perspective, from our experience, and that may look very differently when you hear the narrative of the other party. Whether or not it's true, half truths, or omissions, only God alone knows. So the whole context of judgment, or when people pick a side. But here, I love this that I've read on social media, because social media has become my heartbreak guru recently. And I love that I've read this recently. So take it or leave it. I've read recently that whenever there's two different narratives, you would know which narrative is more than likely the truth by looking at which party is doing the healing. The party that probably has moved on very quickly. I didn't say any of this. The party that has probably moved on very quickly. The party that has all the friends that you guys used to have. Hey, that might be the party you don't want to believe. Party that's being authentic, bold, being open, conversations. This party you might want to believe.
She's like, just saying. It's true, so true. And yeah, there's so much we can say.
Yeah.
But yeah, I can relate to losing friends. Some was my own doing for sure. I reached out to a friend recently, and when I went to the group chat, to our chat, I realized that I never replied to her this time last year.
Oh my days.
And I was in a dark space this time last year. Kids were sick, constantly sick. I kept getting sick because they were sick. And so I never replied. And it's been a whole year. So I take that on. Obviously, she doesn't live close by, because then it would have been much easier to connect. But I was just like, wow, so that's on me.
Girl, you still have an apology.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I did.
Outstanding.
I apologized. I texted her. But other friendships, I think there's this idea of like a single woman being a homewrecker. And I'm just like, especially if you happen to be attractive at all. And yeah, that's a new one for me. I was just like, when I was married, people were fine.
Exactly, but now they're kind of scared you coming to take that.
I'm like, I don't want anybody's sloppy seconds.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I have found that as well.
That is interesting. That is very interesting.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I will be quite mindful of that, because the other thing is I don't want, my married friends, girls, I love y'all. I still love y'all very much, even if we haven't spoken for a while. I just don't want to bring toxicity in that word into your marriage, because all I'll be talking about is my healing, my breakdown. And girl, you need to be building your marriage and getting your groove on. Me, I'm not about that conversation yet. So that's the reason, baby. But we're still good. So the book is divided into 4 parts, and it was a natural progression. Even before I did any research, because I never did any research on heartbreak or anything like that. But after I would have written the poems over a period, when I finally decided I'm going to wrap up heartbreak altogether and gave myself something new to look forward to. And when I decided, after 12 months, I looked at the poems, and it took a natural progression from the 4 stages that I divided the book into. The first stage I called the wound, obviously when everything was raw and I was vulnerable and bleeding out. The second stage, the calm, when I started to really sit back and say, okay, this has happened. You have no control. What are we going to do? And the third stage that I call the becoming, where I realized that I was becoming something. I was changing. I had to change. I needed to change, but I didn't know quite what I was becoming. I was learning to embrace my new self. And the final stage that I titled the reconciliation, more or less the transformative stage, that version of me, that new version of me, and what that looked like. And so in the light of the last stage, I really just want to kind of ask you then, Maureen, how do you think this whole process, I know it's still a journey, but how do you think the healing journey has transformed you, if in any way at all?
Oh God, so many ways. I feel like I've had.
Or perhaps even reshape your identity, whatever way you want to look at it.
So the thing with me is I had done a lot of work. Had I not done a lot of inner work before last year, we would still be married. Do you know what I mean? Like I had, the last 10 years, I have I struggle to read for fun because I'm constantly reading psychology books and self-healing books. And,
I'm the
opposite. So I had already shaped my identity in so many ways in that. I think for and my purpose and who I am and coming to terms with I'll be okay by myself even before the marriage ended, if that makes sense. It's like I had prepared, and maybe I had subconsciously, right? But I do feel like in the last 2 years, the fact I had underestimated. I know grief way too well from grieving my mother, who's still alive, but I've grieved our relationship because it can never be what I've I've wanted and needed. So I know grief in that way. I know grief in that my grandmother passed away, and that was a beautiful relationship until I started to become my own person. And then it wasn't, and then she passed away, and then so I understand grief, but I didn't quite understand this grief because I saw him every day.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I had more intimacy with him than anybody else. He's, we cuddled every night, even when we were fighting. So that grief of, oh, I'm actually really alone, and I'm okay being alone because I quite like myself, and also I'm really alone. Does that make sense? It's like
it's a double-edged sword, isn't it?
So that surprised me, and it surprised me the level at which I had underestimated the pain that would come from that. But also being by myself has allowed me to do way more. Because I think when you're married and when your partner is not a cheerleader for you, you tend to dim your light. And in the last 2 years, I've done way more than I did in many years of marriage in terms of my purpose, in terms of my music, and I've also just written book, like I don't know what it is yet, but it's there.
Hey, we're coming back.
I've done that this year. I've done my very first big concert at the Duncairn Arts Centre. I spoke at the United Against Racism rally in front of like hundreds of people. And so I'm doing what I was always meant to do, and I'm not dimming my light. And also because I have so much more free time. Monday to Friday is intense, but then on the weekend I get to be me and I get to live for me. And I also learned I'm really good with money.
That's a good thing.
I'm really good with money, and I'm very careful. But anyway, that is a whole thing that his family tried to make it look like I was bad with money and like I was some sort of gold digger. And I am not. I'm actually really good with money, and I'm careful. And I'm
glad for you, girl.
And reclaiming that and being like, I'm good with money.
See why we're here having a conversation, because we're brave, we're bold.
So I think it's, if anything, shaping my identity into this powerhouse of a woman that I was always meant to be. I need the money to start rolling in a lot more, but the little that I have, I'm managing.
Spend trying to go on is what they used to say when I was growing up. Women are usually very good at that,
So reclaiming that and being like, I'm actually really good with that, and telling myself a different story from what his family told me. And from what his silence told me, because he never fought for me, he never spoke up for me. And whenever somebody is silent when you're being abused, that is double gaslighting. It's like, so you can be gaslit by somebody saying, oh, I didn't say that, and you're stupid for believing that. Or you can be gaslit by somebody being quiet because it means that they believe what the other
Yeah.
person is saying. So reclaiming that and just being like, I'm black, I'm beautiful,
Absolutely.
and I'm good with money.
Money is important. And to be good with it is even more important. I mean, just to bring this to a close, we can be here all night. We can be all night because this conversation, I mean, this whole heartbreak, trauma, healing, it's a conversation that will never end. Generations and generations of women, men, our daughters, our granddaughters. We have got to be able to have these conversations for the benefit of those who may not be able to speak for themselves, who may not be able to understand their experience and who may just want us to share our experience with them. But for me, the transformation really came in two ways. I mean, I'm going to say practically, I made a reel about this when I first had, my social media journal that documenting the heartbreak. I made a reel about taking care of my body physically and the fact that I resented the gym when I was with him simply because the gym represented his ideals of manhood and dominance. And I resented the gym particularly for that reason. And so for me, the transformation began when I became very dependent on the gym for survival. So in the early stages of the heartbreak, when it wasn't over drinking, it was pounding that gym, getting my pain out in the gym. And that created a whole transformation about my health and health being wealth and all of that in my psyche and just how I live. So that was a physical transformation. But in terms of the transformation that went on from that, people may not believe it, but I experienced a lot of body shaming. I suppose it went both ways. Again, I've spoken about this in different contexts before. And so for me, I've become quite self-confident. Listen, I don't care if the body ain't tea. I am me and I love me. I've become happier in ways when I realize that I can actually accomplish things on my own. And one of the things that I always wanted to accomplish when I was with him was the legacy of home ownership. It's a big thing for me as a Black woman, as a woman that came from a family that believed in passing on generational wealth. And the secret is I finally owned my own home! That's
girl. You're amazing the amount of men that don't want to own homes.
Listen, this is another conversation, so it's gonna be a wrap. That's the best note to end it on, guys. You gotta buy the book. Thank you. You've got to buy the book. Our social media handles. Maureen would have her last words, obviously. Because we've got a lot to say. We live loudly, and that is Maureen's favorite. But social media handles, if you want to find us on social media, I would be at What Remains Is You. Incidentally, that's the title of the book. What remains is you at the end of the day. At the end of everything that you go through in this lifetime, what remains is you. And him or her, but what remains is you. So at What Remains Is You on YouTube, Instagram, and TikTok, and on Facebook, for whatever reason, it's still my actual name, Yolande Robertson, Facebook. And
Maureen Hamblin, using my privilege, my proximity to Wayne.
Girl, stop!
Maureen Hamblin on every platform, and Hamblin, it's HAMBLIN. Every platform. I'm on every platform. I'm taking a bit of a break right now, but I'll be back in a month or two.
Ladies, we love y'all. Love y'all. Thank you so much for watching, for listening, for being part of the conversation. This isn't just my story, it's our story. This isn't just my book, it's our book. Because if you're a woman, your mother, your daughter, your generation, somebody would have been through, or if you're going through it, it's our story. Let's walk through the pages of this book together. I love you all. Men, you're welcome to read it too.
Congratulations.
Thank you.